Hello, this is a case example of an antidromic snare technique in a patient who had had two previously failed implants transvenously, and then following that an attempt at his pacing that was unsuccessful. So this is the initial venogram of his second attempt, and you can see that they were successful in getting a wire down at least part way, got a lead somewhat into the vein, but then in the end everything fell out. So now this is the third attempt, and the subclavian was occluded and required venoplasty for access. If you want details on how to do that, it's on BIVTIPS. So the initial contrast injection suggested that the vein was occluded, so we used a contrast injection system and injected contrast through the standard vein selector. And here you can see that the previously open vein is now totally occluded from the previous manipulations. So what to do? Well, in this case we're going to go looking for collaterals from the middle cardiac vein that extend into the lateral wall target vein. And to do this, we'll put the Amplatz support wire in and then use the vertebral vein selector. And you can do this through a single Worley sheath because it's 9 French. And with the Amplatz support wire in place, you can withdraw the sheath and then go find the middle cardiac vein. And once you get in there, you inject contrast, and you can see that there's something going up here towards the lateral wall target vein. So we'll take a choice PT floppy wire, 300 centimeters, and advance that through the collaterals, retrograde into the target vein, and then back into the CS. And that's what's happened here. Now this wasn't necessarily easy to do, and required the insertion of the SureCross micro-catheter inside the vertebral vein selector to help make it possible to get the angioplasty wire through the collaterals and back into the CS. Once we got there, then we advanced the snare, 4 French snare catheter over the existing Cook Amplatz wire to get the snare catheter into the coronary sinus, and then from there we'll remove the Cook Amplatz wire and replace it with the 4mm loop snare. And again, we have the 9 French sheath here, the 5 French vein selector, and the 4 French snare catheter with a 4mm loop, and we'll withdraw the wire and then re-advance it into the open snare, close the snare on the wire, and then from here what we'll do is we'll replace the vein selector with a new SureCross catheter. The SureCross catheter is coming out of the coronary, or out of the Worley sheath, around through the collaterals, back in to the target vein, and here's the wire. And so we're advancing the wire into the SureCross catheter and withdrawing the wire up onto the table using the snare catheter. Once we get the wire up onto the table, we trim off the bent end, and here we're advancing an angioplasty balloon, a 3mm rapid exchange non-compliant coronary balloon is advanced into the target vein. And of course we have to get the SureCross catheter back far enough to allow the balloon to advance. So we get to here, and then we'll inflate the balloon to rated burst pressure, which is 20 atmospheres, all the way the full length of the vein. And then we remove the balloon and advance the advance the pacing lead down through the Worley sheath. So here's the Worley sheath, here's the 5 French lead, and here's the micro-catheter also going back into the Worley sheath. And here's the wire connecting the two. And so we're going to need to get the micro-catheter back out of the way so that we can advance the pacing lead. And now you can see we have the pacing lead advanced down into the target vein. Here's our micro-catheter. So once we're satisfied with the position of the lead, we'll remove the sheath and then withdraw the wire out of the tip of the lead into the micro-catheter, and now we have the lead in place. So I hope you find this helpful. Again, if you go onto YouTube's BIVTIPS, there's a step-by-step description on how to implement the antidromic snare technique. Thank you.